Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. This week's Parsha is that of Balak. In Parshas Balak, we have Balak who becomes the king of the Moabites, and he calls upon Bilam to come and curse Klal Yisrael. Bilam was a prophet of the nations of the world. Hashem granted prophecy to Bilam, although he was a wicked man. This way, the nations of the world would not be able to say, if only you gave us a prophet, we would have been righteous. And here comes Bilam, and not only do we not see righteous deeds, but he brings depravity and sinful behavior unto the world. Bilam says to Balak, build for me 7 altars, and on each altar you shall bring a bull and a ram. And this was done 3 times. So that means there were 14 sacrifices, 7 altars with 2 animals on each. And this was done on 3 occasions. In the Talmud, in the tractate Sota, it says a person should always engage in Torah and mitzvahs, even if it's shalol lishma. That means even if they're not doing it for the purpose of fulfilling the will of Hashem, maybe they have an ulterior motive, or maybe they're just doing the mitzvah because, well, that's how they're accustomed to, or maybe they're studying Torah because they find it interesting, but they're not doing it because this is the mitzvah and the will of our Creator. Person should always engage in Torah mitzvahs, even if it's not for the proper reason. Why? Because this will bring a person to doing the mitzvahs appropriately. Where do we see that? Talmud says we see from Balak. Balak brought 42 sacrifices. Certainly Balak didn't bring these sacrifices because he was intending to serve the one true God. He did it because he thought that this would facilitate and enable Bilam to curse his enemies, the Jews. And yet we see the Talmud says that from Balak came a descendant who would be Ruth, from whom would come King David and Mashiach. So we see that in merit of these 42 offerings, we see that Balak was rewarded to have Ruth, King David, King Solomon. They all came from Balak. It's incredible to contemplate. The question is, person who does a mitzvah shaloi lishma, lishma means I'm doing it for the sake of fulfilling the will of my Creator. Shaloi lishma means, as I said before, I'm not doing it specifically to fulfill the will of Hashem. I'm doing it because this is how I'm accustomed. Every morning I get up and I daven and I light my candles Friday night. And I'm not thinking about necessarily the will of my Creator. I'm just saying this is what a Jew should do, which is also a good thing, although it's not the optimum. Was Balak's offerings shaloi lishma? Can we say that Balak performed the mitzvah, but he didn't do it for the sake of fulfilling the will of God? Is that the only definition of Balak's activities? Balak, in other words, he did a mitzvah, but he did it maybe not in its optimum form. Is that what Balak did? Balak's intention was that through these offerings that Bilam is telling him to bring, maybe the offerings are somehow connected to some kishuf magic, who knows what. His intention was that there should be a curse upon Klal Yisrael that will eventually result in their being driven from the land, maybe even destroyed. That was Balak's intention. We're going to say that, oh, Balak did a mitzvah, but you know what? It was missing lishma. Really? That's the problem in Balak's service. It was missing Lishma, intent to satisfy the will of Hashem. Balak did an action with the intention of doing the most evil, corrupt thing to destroy Hashem's chosen people. How do we understand the statement of this Gemara? The Vilna Gaon quotes a medrash, which the medrash says that when Bilam tells Hashem that Balak sent emissaries that Bilam should curse the Jews, Hashem said, you shall not curse them. Don't go with them. You shall not curse them. If you curse the Jews, who's going to fulfill my Torah? Who's going to do the mitzvahs? The nations of the world? They refuse to accept the Torah. The Torah has to exist in this world. Who will uphold the Torah? And Bilam said, I will do it. I'll do it. Hashem said, nevertheless, you cannot curse Klal Yisrael, ki baruchu, for they are blessed. This medrash is also incomprehensible. Bilam is saying that he's going to fulfill the Torah and mitzvahs. Bilam's going to put on talis and tefillin. Bilam's going to fast on Yom Kippur. Bilam is going to bring the offerings in the temple. Bilam is going to be sitting and studying Torah every single day. Bilam's going to take lulav and esrog. He's going to eat matzah and maror, sit at a seder. Who are we kidding? What does this mean? I heard from my Rebbe, a Goyen, Tzaddik, Rav Shul Birnbaum, Zechet Tzaddik Levracha, in which he said that we see something unbelievable here. We see that indeed when Bilam said he will fulfill the mitzvahs, he meant it from the depths of his soul. He will accept upon himself the responsibility of fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs. He will do so like the greatest tzaddik who ever walked the face of the earth. And when Balak brought these offerings, he didn't think that, this is just some hocus pocus. Balak was instructed by Bilam, build an altar and we're going to bring in offerings to the one true God. And Balak was aware of that. And indeed, he built the altars and he brought the sacrifices to Hashem, that this should be an offering unto the God, creator of all that exists. But he didn't do it for the purpose of satisfying God's instructions. He did it for ulterior motives. But indeed, Balak did this with the intent of fulfilling a mitzvah, albeit shelo lishma, not with the optimum intention. He did it. And that's why the Talmud says, you see from his mitzvah that he did a mitzvah. He knew what he was doing and he did a mitzvah, but he didn't do it with the perfect intention. Nevertheless, look at the reward he received. How do we understand this? So my Rebbe explained and said, when the goal is to destroy Klal Yisrael, our enemies will do anything necessary to bring about the destruction of Klal Yisrael. Even if it means building altars and offering sacrifices, even if it means having to live a life of Torah and mitzvahs and righteousness, if it means the destruction of Klal Yisrael, Bilam said, I'll do it. I'll make the commitment. Such is the element of anti-Semitism. How can that be? How do we comprehend this? The answer is, when we sit down and try to do a mitzvah, study Torah, when we want to do any mitzvah, there's an evil inclination that Hashem created, the Yetzer Hara, whose job and mission it is to distract us and cause us to lose our focus. And if not to cause that we refrain from the mitzvah entirety, at least that we should lose our understanding of what the mitzvah is and maybe do it for ulterior motives. This is the Yetzer Hara, who will do anything to prevent us from fulfilling the will of Hashem. But what about when the Yetzer Hara sees that a person wants to do an Aveira, to go against the will of Hashem? Then the Yetzer Hara says, not only will I not put any impediments in front of you, I will help you. I will assist and aid you any way I can. Bilam came to negate the will of Hashem. Hashem said, don't curse them. And Bilam was trying to find a way in which he could rebel against the will of Hashem. And Balak too. Bilam told Balak, I'm here as you requested, but I could only do what Hashem says. And Bilam and Balak were trying to find solutions and trying to find some method by which they could negate the will of God, which is that Klal Yisrael should enter the land of Israel and receive the blessings that the Almighty intends. You want to do an Aveira? The Yetzer Hara says, not only will I not put obstacles in front of you, I will help you. I will allow you to stay focused. I'll remove every distraction. And therefore, Balak was able to focus building 7 altars, bringing a total of 42 sacrifices to the creator of all that exists. That was his focus. The Yetzer Hara helped him. Bilam, if I need to accept upon myself fulfillment of the whole Torah, the Yetzer Hara said, go for it. Do it. I'll help you. I'll see that you do it. I'll make sure you get up every morning and say Shema and put in the talis and tefillin. I'll see to it that you fast in Yom Kippur and that you do all the mitzvahs. You'll sit in the sukkah. Do it. You won't have any problem as long as you can transgress the will of Hashem. This is Bilam. This is Balak. And we see the extent that the enemies of Klal Yisrael, of Torah and mitzvahs of God, we see the extent that they will go. They will do anything as long as they can prevent the ultimate goal of creation, which is Hashem showering on Klal Yisrael his blessings through Torah and mitzvahs. As long as they can prevent that from coming to fruition, they will do anything. The anti-Semitism that we see today, which is incomprehensible, and it comes from people that 10 years ago we might have thought were our friends. We were in league with them. We were marching with them. We were sharing causes with them. And now they turn against us in the most irrational, incomprehensible means and methods on universities, intelligentsia, academia. And this is what we find. United Nations, leaders of the world, all they can see is to condemn when they have a blind eye to everything else, all the cruelty, all the destruction that goes on in the world. When it comes to Klal Yisrael, Yetzer Hara is there saying, go for it, do it. Such is the psyche that drives the anti-Semites. But there's something we should be aware of. In spite of the Bilams, in spite of the Balaks that walk the face of the earth, the words of Hashem ring true in every generation. Don't curse them, because even if you attempt to do so, it will fail. You know why? Ki baruch hu. Because Klal Yisrael is blessed. What does that mean? We're blessed. It means that we are a different entity. We are an entity which has a spiritual shield to protect us. Yes, there are occasions in which our enemies control and do atrocious things without a doubt. But the ultimate soul, the ultimate goal of Klal Yisrael will always remain intact, because we are blessed. And the curses, and no matter what they try, Maybe they'll be successful a little bit here and there, but ultimately, Klal Yisrael will prevail, does prevail, and the will of Hashem will be revealed to one and all speedily in our lifetime. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay Jewish. Have a wonderful Shabbos.